Amelie's always had a love and passion for ballet. She's always dancing, she's always loved it. She was experiencing pain in her leg. The doctor at the time quite rightly said, give her some Nurofen. If the pain goes away, then don't worry about it. But then unfortunately, the pain did go away. Pause. This went on for probably a period of 3-4 months, and then it was then that I noticed a swelling in her leg. And then we did take Amelie to the doctors, and at that point they were very quick because there was clearly a problem. It was a very frightening moment, that point of diagnosis, because within 5 minutes, he said to us, your daughter's being diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma. It was total shock.
That was the first time that we'd heard the word sarcoma. And even then they didn't really know what it was. And actually, it was, even to the GPs, it sounded like it was something that was not very common.
When you talk to people about sarcoma, it's what's that? It's not a childhood cancer that everybody knows about. It's not like leukemia. The doctors, it felt like the professionals hadn't heard of it. She should have been diagnosed a lot sooner.
Sarcoma is a very rare type of cancer. Patients often have been several times to the GP before they get referred into us. I think one of the problems is that there is so much occurring in young people, which is completely normal, which gives them leg pain. They're growing, they're quite often active, so all of these things can be explained away by much more common phenomena.
Patients tell us that there is a lack of information, a lack of awareness amongst healthcare professionals. People have had to wait an awful long time before they're diagnosed. So all of these things are incredibly important, and they're all things that Sarcoma UK take very seriously and are trying to drive forward and change.
He then told us that there was 2 options for Amelie. One would be a rod, or it could be an amputation. And then about a minute later, he says, it's gone to both her lungs. I couldn't describe that feeling. It was just, you just want to scream. I did scream. Your whole world just falls apart. You just feel like this isn't, that he didn't just say that, I'm in a dream, I'm in a nightmare, wake me up, this is not happening, this is not happening. But it is happening.
Something takes over. You know it's about survival then. And it's the most valuable and the most precious thing to you in your life, and making sure that it can survive becomes your #1 priority.
One thing that the doctors said to us at that point of diagnosis is, we treat to cure. And we latched onto that, and it's like, of course. And both Steve and I had a very positive outlook. Yes, we were scared, very, very scared. We felt sick with worry. But it's almost like, we're going to do this, we're going to beat it.
For a lot of common cancers, they will have chemotherapy and radiotherapy, but it quite often will be day case chemotherapy. For sarcoma patients, they're often in hospital for prolonged periods of time. It's very intensive chemotherapy followed by bigger surgery, and sometimes we're not able to salvage the limb and they do end up with an amputation.
She had 15 rounds of chemotherapy in total. So it lasted sort of from the October right through to the end of May.
Somewhere far away. Okay.
In the hospital, everything's happening to Amelie, everything's been done to Amelie, but in the school, she could own something and take responsibility. It was wonderful.
Pink grass, wow.
To be honest, the hospital school is what got us through, all of us through. They helped Amelie to gain confidence, help her to feel normal and normalise everything for her. It gave her a sense of routine, but they challenged her as well.
There's business as usual, right? You've got to carry on living your life. There's things you've got to do. You've got to still go out and work and earn money. You know, the daily family routine still needs to take place despite this major upheaval.
It's a lonely cancer for patients, but it's a lonely cancer for healthcare professionals too. So it's about bringing those groups together to make sure that people are aware of best practice and signposts them to improve treatment and care.
In cancers like breast cancer, lung cancer, we've got very new exciting treatments, but unfortunately in sarcoma, despite lots of research, our first-line chemotherapy drugs are still drugs that were developed 40 years ago.
You know, when we were speaking to the oncologist, they were saying, well, we're going to try this and we're going to try that and see if that works and see if this works. And this has worked with some patients in the past, so that's a positive way to look at it. We were very lucky in the sense that what Amelie was given worked very effectively.
The tumour reduced 50% within about 3 rounds of chemo. It was gone from both her lungs. Then they told us about 2 weeks before Christmas that it would be an amputation, and we actually didn't believe it was going to happen until she went down into theatre. Prior to her operation, we did a lot of work with the physios on the ward, and they had a teddy bear that Amelie loved teddy bear anyway, and they amputated the bear and put a dressing on the bear and put a little tutu on the bear. So it was trying to help her to understand that what was going to happen to her, but she was going to come out the other side and carry on being Amelie. She'd had the surgery, she was lying in the bed, and almost immediately, I did not expect this emotion one bit. It was a huge sense of relief. And then I looked at Amelie and it's like, of course, she's still Amelie. The leg is nothing, the cancer's gone. The cancer's gone. Amelie's Amelie, she's still our little girl. So what? We can get a new leg, she'll be fine. I think it's so important to have a national charity like Sarcoma UK because there's such a lack of awareness.
We need supporters to come together, help us, raise awareness, fund more research and provide better information and support for sarcoma patients. They deserve it.
Even if one GP is more aware, that might save that one more life, and by having a national charity to try and increase that is just so important.
She was bouncing on the trampoline within a few months of having the amputation. She was back up on her scooter within 6 months, and recently she's been doing things like roller skating, and we took her ice skating, and all these things that you would have thought a year after amputation would still be challenging, but for her it's not holding her back and she wants to keep going.
After her surgery, amputee bear was there, the ballet bar was there. She suddenly got one leg instead of two. But that passion and that interest of ballet really helped her to see, actually, I'm going to be okay, I can still do this using one leg. She's never let anything stop her. And she knows she might have to do it slightly differently, but she just still does it. She's just so strong. She's been amazing.